OKFM 101.7.
Namensaka, Honorable Rashid Pelpuo, minority spokesperson on lands, MP for West Central. Na DBT yaneno bekasa ewo brofum. Honorable Rashid Pelpuo, good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
And how is life treating you, sir?
Oh, generally it's good. It's good.
Okay. And we have this caption in the on front page of the Daily Guide. NDC kicks against Otumfour lands. What can you tell us of this story, sir?
101.7.
Well, there was a situation in which we met the press and explained the reasons we are inviting the Minister for Lands to Parliament to explain circumstances under which lands had been given out without particular notice of the committee, and the fact also that these are government lands and at very critical situations, and why the state, the government had to take that decision to give out those lands. And we particularly were interested in, we particularly mentioned the Achimota Forest, a reserved area which shouldn't be given out to anybody, and with a presidential executive order now saying that he has declassified the land that can be given out for domestic use or for residential purposes, and etc., etc. So we are inviting the minister to come and answer questions on it, plus other regional situations in which lands are given out to individuals, government lands released to individuals. And so there was a question as to which other regions apart from apart from Greater Accra. And then we mentioned Northern Volta, Ashanti, Upper West, Brahafo, and others. So that was how it went. Nobody mentioned, I don't know how the Ashanti land came up. I'm sure when we mentioned Ashanti.
So you are not definite on these Otumfour lands that has been released by the government
No, we are yet to hear an explanation. We are a responsible minority. We want to hear that from the minister. Come and explain. We didn't mention any particular lands in the other regions.
Oh, okay.
We got a report, and we said in the regions, and we mentioned Ashanti as one of them. And we want the minister to come before us and explain the reasons they are giving out lands, government lands to people, whether government doesn't need lands anymore, and why it is compelling as far as to do so there. And we are worried about how government is insensitive about keeping lands that had been acquired years before independence, and why it is compelling now for government to give out those lands. Because we need land. We need land in Ghana. We want government to control land. It enables effective use of land in development, and government should not go buying land at a very high price when they already have land.
Sir,
so if government begins to do this, it is something that attracts our attention. It enables us to do enough oversight. That's why when you have a budget, the budget includes activities, and we monitor the activities against the expenditures. And so if there was a need to do all that, okay, we want to sell land because we are broke. Government doesn't have money, so we want to sell these lands and make up for this. We put it in the budget for us to see where we know that we can monitor, or we can be against it at the very onset. But if you get up every morning, this land is gone. The following morning, this land is gone. The minority will be too irresponsible to just keep quiet. So we are compelling and asking the minister to appear before us at the committee. Then we ask him about the land, and then we hear him out about the land. And then eventually, if there is a need to mention particular lands that had been given out and not properly explained to us, then we can demonstrate our opposition to them and be specific about them.
Sir, are you aware of the new Land Act 2020 Act 1036 and what is contained in with regards to acquisition of lands and all that?
We are aware of all that, but that's not the issues we are dealing with now. If the minister comes and he wants to come and quote that law to explain, and we are still not satisfied because there are other situations, legal situations we can bring up on board, we will mention them.
I see, sir. But how then come that the Daily Guide specifically mentioned that you said it at the press conference that you are also bothered about the release of lands to the Golden Stew? Because they wrote that, let me read some portions of it. I see. In a rather strange and dramatic U-turn, however, the minority ranking member for Lands and Forestry on Friday, June 3, 2022, held a press conference to express the opposition of the NDC minority to the release of such lands to the Asante-Hene.
No, there was no mention like that. We are against lands in other regions. They just speak on Asante-Hene. We don't mention Asante-Hene. If there's a need to mention Asante-Hene, why not? We will mention it. We are a very, very responsible minority. But you see, we need to hear from the minister on the other lands plus the Ashanti lands. Then we can make a mention about that. When we hear about the Achimota and enough evidence are proving, we mention Achimota. So there's nothing wrong with if we hear enough about Ashanti and we think that there's something wrong. We will do a more comprehensive mention about Ashanti. But why does he even say it's in a rather strange? Why does he call that strange? Why is it strange if government is opposition is mentioning why government is acquiring land? The newspaper is I don't know what to say about it, but I don't. They are inaccurate and not responding to the real issues at all.
Not only Daily Guide captured it, other daily.
Yeah, all the newspapers, because yes, the Graphic was there, Times was there, City was there, your newspaper was
and look at this caption from the Chronicle. Otumfour's alleged 400-acre land drives NDC MP crackers.
Yeah, you see, like I'm saying, we are not afraid to talk about any lands at all, except that in that press release, that press meeting, that press encounter, we never mentioned any specific land apart from Achimota. I'm just talking about how the report went. I'm not afraid to say anything. The minority is not afraid to say anything. It is our duty to say the thing that will develop our country, that will put development in perspective, and that will secure the people of Ghana against any such intrusion into our private and public sector, as we are against this government misuse of money. For all the 5 years they have come in and borrowed more than 400 billion, and we can't see the effects of it. We are against it. We are against the use of the acquisition of lands and giving it to individuals in Achimota, and so we mention Achimota land. If eventually we get such a thing in Ashanti, we will definitely mention it. But I'm talking about what exactly happened on that day. We mentioned regions. We didn't mention specifics. And we want the minister to explain. After the minister has explained and we still feel there's no logical reason why such a thing should happen, we will go ahead and say it. There shouldn't be in a hurry to mention it for us.
Those who are in arms with the government for maybe acquisition of their lands and then want it to be reverted to them, have this that the government acquired a certain land for this use, and if the government fails to use the land for the purpose for which it was acquired, it must be reverted back to the allodial owners. So
or to study the land law more effectively. That's why we want to meet the minister. That is why we did not mention the details. That is why we want to hear out what legal infrastructure, is the government relying on to do all that they are doing. We want to make sure that there's legality in what they are doing, and that there is good reason for government to do what they are doing. If we are not satisfied, we will say we are not satisfied. And presently, why we are not satisfied is that we don't know what is happening. We are a composite part of the organic whole called government. And so if government is treading on land or treading on policy areas that are controversial to the real issues of protecting the pests and protecting the lands of Ghana, we will oppose it. And we are already opposing how government is doing these things. But as a responsible minority, it is important for us to get the government sit down with us and explain what they are, what the situations are, why we are hearing all that is happening.
Sir.
And then you can hear us out. After that, we will do a press conference. You will hear us out. We will mention specific lands. We will complain for you to hear.
Oh, okay.
And then you can ask us questions on them.
Sir, lastly, you are on record to have released a portion of the Achimota forest to the Alodia owners, that is the old family, when you were in power. That was...
Pardon?
You were on record to have released a portion of the Achimota Forest Reserve to the Alodia owners. That is the old family.
Who is on record?
The NDC government.
Okay.
Yes. So, people are also arguing that you have no guts to come up because you started. And when I interviewed Inisef Hussein, he said it was released to them on compassionate grounds. So when you hear of these arguments, what do you make of it, sir?
Well, what I can say is that it was released with specific reference to the use of the land.
Okay.
It did not lift the reserve, the fact that the reserve content of the land should be maintained. We did not lift that one. So if you wanted to take the land and keep the ecological value of it and ensure the reservation of it as a forest area, we are not against that. But if you want the land so that you can cut down trees and build houses and allocate it to individuals and sell, no, that's we will not do.
You release it to the old family, your government, I mean. And
yes,
they also sold them to various individuals for commercial, residential, industrial purposes.
No, they are not supposed to sell any land for commercial or residential thing because we did not lift. That is why this president thought that there's a need for him to lift that one. And we are still against lifting it. We release the land. If you want to go and live live in the land in the manner other living things are living there, it's your deal. If you want to go and do a reservation in which people can come and watch animals and enjoy the vegetation, fine. But it is not released for you to go and cut down trees and make roads there and put buildings there. No, that's what we are against, and it's still part of it's still our policy.
Sir, I've perused certain site plan of the land acquisition at the Achimota Forest Reserve. Okay. And I could see that whether some of your members of the NDC also have lands there. So, do we treat it as a partisan issue, or we should treat it as a national issue?
Well, you are making the claim, so
yeah,
we will yet to understand exactly what you are talking about.
Sure. Before
I can make any comment.
Oh, okay. So
I don't know of any NDC person who has gotten land there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We are grateful for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Rashid Pelpuo, Minority Spokesperson, Lands, MP for West Central, and the K101.7.
okayfm 101.7.